Okay, guys, it's the second episode of the podcast of Seven Hills. This episode is about International Turku, and it's enabled by the city of Turku, Turku Center, and in cooperation with Bar Ullakko and Brave Teddy. I'm Victor. I'm the host of this podcast, and the producer is Janne Salminen. Actually, during in previous episode, we had as guest, one of the guests represented Työmy, and I want to promote that they have every second Wednesday they have Kesäkeidas events in Brinkala. You can check them out in social media. Plus, they have Ambient Thursday, the 3rd of August, and Kesäkeidas Massive 24th of August. And the Ambient Thursday is in Sibelius Museum. And in Ilmiö Festivals, obviously Vera, who was a guest representing Työmy, is gonna play there. Anyway, guys, welcome Nacho Zuniga.
Thank you.
And Ziggy Turner, welcome
Thank
to
you,
this
my friend.
podcast.
Appreciate it.
Why I brought you and why I invited you to this this podcast is that I think that you both have really interesting story. How you ended up here, what you are doing here in Turku, and I'm sure you are fed up with this question, which a lot of Finns usually asks. I'm sure you know it. How did you end up in Finland, and why on the earth Finland of all places? Nacho, how was the thrill with you?
Yeah, it's a question that is often asked. I studied in Sweden. I did my exchange in Sweden. I came back to Chile to finish my studies in engineering. And as the classic story, I met a Finnish girl. She's the one who, having dinner with my parents, said that I'm going to take your son to Finland. I've been to Sweden, so I said, why not? Came here, did my studies, and that's what, in the first place, got me to stay. After that, there's been some years now finishing my studies. I rooted myself in Turku.
Mm-hmm.
This is the place that I consider home. After living many years I'm from Santiago, the capital, but I lived many years in Valparaiso, and that's where my heart is. But Turku, little by little, took a big spot there.
Valparaiso, where is it located, like geographic?
Geographically, well, Chile is a
really long.
It's a really long country.
Mm.
I like to put the perspective of putting Chile at the top of Chile in Norway. Chile reaches Egypt, so you really have it's a long country. So Santiago being in the middle, and Valparaiso is right off the coast, a little bit north of Santiago, but in the coast. So it's a it's a really nice spot. World Heritage Place, many universities, 1 million people, which is a perfect amount of people for a place. Surf spots, beach, and whatnot. Very bohemian place. But upon arrival to Finland, I realized that the calmness and what this place brings is something that I really crave for. And yeah, then made my family, and I have friends that I consider family at this point, and and a family of my own. And yeah, that's how I end up here.
And if I'm correct, you've been living here for 7
Exactly.
years,
Yeah,
right?
it's been 7 years now. In the beginning, I lived in Seinäjoki, and I didn't want to come to Turku. So when every time that I tell the Finns that I like Seinäjoki, they're like, "Wait a second." But then spending some time in Turku took little time to realize that here is where it is. It has, as a harbor city, has many of the elements that I seek for. Um, the the fact that you are 10 minutes by bike or car and you're in the middle of nowhere, it's something like completely priceless. So yeah, Turku is my spot.
And would it be fair to say that you consider Turku as your home?
Absolutely, yeah. I tried Helsinki, but as a capital has the syndrome, and it's not the same. Yeah.
Ziggy,
Hmm.
your story.
Well, of course, I think the weather is what enticed me to be here. Nah, I'm joking. So, yeah, grew up in sunny South Wales, UK, where I resided till about 16. Spent a few years in the military. Left the military, got into the trade of barbering. Went from barbering, then decided to come out of a pretty juvenile relationship. Got a one-way ticket to Australia. I had like $700 in my bank account, and I thought, we'll see how far I can stretch this. Ended up staying there 10 years. Made it last. In that time, opened a few barber shops there. And funny enough, met my Finnish now fiance about 6 years ago there. And yeah, where we resided in Sydney, and it was this place called the Northern Beaches. So picturesque. I was in love with the place. Kind of thought that I was there forever. Surfed every morning. Kind of the easy life. We got to a stage where business is going well. I was up to, I think, 3 barber shops at that time. I think I had about 17 staff. And after, a long 6 year stretch of kind of building the businesses, it was time to do a bit of traveling, kind of reward ourselves for, kind of that hardship of being in business for so long. So yeah, my fiance and I, we flew from Australia to back to Wales as such, bought a camper van, um, set off to do the 6 month tour around Europe. I think we were 3 weeks into our trip. I think we were at Germany at the time, and COVID happened.
Shit hit the fence.
And shit went down, man. So, everything obviously, it was all over the shop, so nobody knew where, when, or how, what. And I think, yeah, being in Germany, we tried to call the Australian embassy to try and get back there. But what they were only allowing was residents and citizens, which I was, but my fiance wasn't. So the door was shut for us to go back to Australia whilst the COVID was happening. So we thought, okay, no stress, we'll go back to UK. Nope, we won't have you either. So, okay, luck's running out. So we managed to get the last ferry from Germany to Sweden, and then the last ferry from Sweden to Finland before it all closed down, everything locked down for COVID. And by that time, we know the thing was getting a bit real. Drove from, I think I come through Turku when I first got here, but I didn't have an idea what Turku was. Straight off the ferry in my little 2-seater caddy van that I built. Like, it wasn't really a camper; it was just a mattress in the back and a kettle. It was pretty cool. Drove up to Lappeenranta, where we told we had to do the self isolation for the 2 weeks, and her parents being very Finnish, we were locked in the house for 2 weeks. So going out of my mind. And in that time, it was a very sudden, stark realization that I'd lost all the businesses and everything in Australia because I couldn't get back. So the first kind of thought that came to my mind was, right, work. What can I do? Where can I go? We drove straight to Helsinki, thinking, major city, easiest place, obviously, to get work. Bear in mind, it's COVID. It was hard work. I ended up in, is it Malmi?
Malmi, yeah.
Malmi? Ah, man, that place. Got a job in some Middle Eastern barbershop
So
for a
wait a
couple
minute. At this point, everything you had in Australia is now left behind. Yeah,
I
nothing.
lost everything. I couldn't get back all the grants or the subsidization for the government, like the allowances to help you support you through COVID, was only valid if you're in the country.
Yeah, yeah.
So of course, I couldn't get back. Couldn't support the businesses. The 3 businesses went down. Lost the house, lost the car, lost the shops, lost absolutely everything. We were down, I think, at that point as well, we'd burned through a lot of our savings buying the van. The idea was to work and travel and work through Europe and, pay your way and travel through. So, yeah, I think we're down to our last $1,000. So realization got to Helsinki, and I went into a well-known barber shop. But they are a well-known barber shop, and they said there was a new store opening up in Turku. So I was like, sweet, jump back in the van. Mrs. Yeah, we're going to Turku. She's like, all right, open the maps. Drove to Turku. Bear in mind, we don't know a soul. Just trying our luck. Managed to get a couple of days in a barbershop on Uljubistongatu. It has since moved. But bear in mind, 2 days a week, $11 an hour, 8 hours a week. It wasn't enough to financially sustain yourself. So, so me being a bit ballsy, and I walked past the Aussie bar one day. I think we all remember the Aussie boats.
Yeah, on the river.
Yeah, and I saw this big lump of a man, and I was like, "God, it's got to be something to do with it." And I just walked up to this fella, and I said, "Look," I said, "you need to hire me." And he's like, "What for?" I was like, "Well, you just need to." He was just taking the piss. He's like, stop pretending you're Australian, you're not. Give me all this spiel. And yeah, so bear in mind, I think I got the job within the next day, proved to be the best worker ever. Nah, and just
But wait a minute, weren't there regulations during these times?
well, it was kind of so it was like that first summer. So I think we got here like April.
Yeah.
Remember they like kind of done that thing where they'd opened up partially for the bit of the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was kind of around that time. But bear in mind, obviously, when I was working at the barbershop 1 day or 2 a day a week, we've lost everything. We've got no home, we've got no money. We were living in out of our van, me, my wife, my dog. So effectively, we were homeless for the first 2.5 months. Um, you know, not knowing where we were, we'd park up in Royce Sellock car park. We'd sleep there. You know, we'd wash in the ocean, like we down to the bare bones.
Really, like camper life.
Yeah, well, I'd say glorified car life, but it was a bit bigger than a cab, a lot smaller than a camper. But you know, we parked up in under bridges in Hirvensalo, anywhere we could park up where there weren't too much noise from the kids on the scooters. You know, we could get a decent night's sleep. But yeah, but slowly kind of found my way back into Turku, like I say, got the job on the Aussie bar, and over that summer, then I was able to pick up a lot of hours. They made me a supervisor within like the week, so the wage from $11 from the barbershop went up to like $15 in the bar. So you know,
If
I
you
had
go, if you go through, and then you ended up opening a
yes.
barbershop, and we'll get soon to it because
Yes.
it's really unique concept.
Yeah, so basically this is what it is, and like kind of the whole threshold of being homeless and having wait for my first paycheck from the Aussie bar. We signed up to the gym so we could shower. Like it was. And look, bear in mind, like washing our clothes in the water. It was pretty daunting, rough times. And then the second paycheck, I was able to get the apartments with my missus and I, and then everything there on after I saved up the entire summer's worth of paychecks, and when I went in then, and that's how I opened the concept of the originals.
Yep, and we will come soon back to it.
Yeah. So, and
Yeah.
that's kind of where it's at, So I find myself here just by pure pot luck. But a big believer in, we're all where we're meant to be, and you deal with the cards that are dealt, I guess.
There must have been wicked time, like crazy.
But
How did you experience COVID time here in Finland, Nacho?
In the beginning, following the news, following the numbers, there was a strict relationship between the numbers as they were growing between Chile and Finland. But then realizing that in the corner of the world that we are, there's not much traffic, there's not many people going back and forth. So after all, Finland had it pretty smooth. Unfortunately, on my family side, we had it rough. We lost 2 family members, but so the concern was mostly dedicated towards my family in Chile. But here, it brought my girlfriend at the time back home, and we spent great time together. We did organize some dinners with friends, and we had a little spot there for friends to gather, and yeah, it was pretty smooth. The COVID times following up to a certain point with some being cautious with the regulations, but in any case, being always aware that Finland is surfing the wave pretty good. There were no government in the world did it right. No one had the right answers. Everyone was surfing the wave as it came, but I feel that in Finland we had a pretty smooth ride.
Yeah. Before pre-COVID time and post-COVID time, I'm aware of that you have been organizing a lot of small and a little bit bigger events here in Turku. How do you experience like to host and to organize events in your scale and in your perspective? Has it been hard or easy, for example, to find the places and facilities and everything in it? How do you feel it?
I've considered myself quite lucky in my whole journey in Finland. The same way that you consider yourself lucky, as my dad says, you're if you wanna be lucky, you need to work hard for it. So there's some hard work behind it still, but I consider myself lucky in the sense that I've been getting to know amazing people here, and I think there's a fair networking that I have in the city, and little by little I got to know key players in the scene. I've been always an avid collector of music, and music is a big driver in my life. So coming here to Finland and discovering a scene that runs in a different way that it does in South America was something that caught my attention. I've been told by friends and family that I have this like gene of a host. I always like to host and gather people, provide a safe space and a good environment for them to express. And somehow I ended up having the opportunities to some person had some good sound system available. Some artist was passing by either Sweden or Helsinki, and why not host them there in Turku? And that's how some events have happened. Recently, I got I would say, once in a lifetime opportunity to live in a place that I consider a paradise, and also there having the opportunity to have and host events on more on the private side, but something that friends and the immediate friends of them are realizing that is a good spot for expressing, for dancing, for playing, and
And
so
I
on.
have been the pleasure to be there actually, and it's a really I can tell it's really
Mm.
like a castle, like paradise in a sense. But anyway, how do you guys feel? Turku people, Turku residents have made you feel welcoming, or how do you feel? It is it hard to get to know Turku people or Finns in particular?
I think, in my experience, and certainly in the industry that I'm involved with, it's not, um, you know, we are a barbershop, but we also consider ourselves a social club. The whole idea is what you say. It's all about bringing people together, bringing people through the door, whether it's over a haircut, whether it's over a beer, whether it's over, tattoos, or whether it's over a coffee or a chat. Whether it's us.
Actually, we could tell the listeners what's the concept. I think it's the first concept of its kind in Finland, right?
Yeah, I think it might even stretch further than Finland, but yeah.
Whiskey lounge,
Yes, so
barbershop,
we're the
tattoo
first,
place.
yeah, so the first A1 licensed barbershop, bar, and tattoo. So yeah, so we've kind of combined, multiple industries, which are very social aspect, and brought them all together under one roof. And what it does, it opens up the boundaries of different clientele coming through. Yeah, you don't necessarily have to come for a haircut. You don't have to come for a tattoo. You may just come for a beer. But what it does, it creates an atmosphere. And what it's done well is, without, you can lead a duck to water, or but it's one of those, like, you lead a horse to water, they drink it. So the Turku people have made it what it is. So I've always had a great kind of response from the folk locally, and it's certainly of what's made the business it is today. So, I think I've been blessed being, around like-minded people, and like what you've just said in your industry as well. But I just think it's just having a space that we can be somebody that can able bring these people together, and, allow people to express their feelings amongst each other. And it's just all about growth and safety, social. And so yeah, it wasn't difficult in my respect. It was difficult kind of starting off here, but then as soon as I started cutting hair, meeting the first, word of mouth, the second, the third, and word spreads. And I think you'll find yourself around people that who are like minded. And so yeah, it's quite been easy in my respect, and I can't obviously speak that to many
Mm.
other foreigners coming through, but my industry has certainly helped, kind of me feeling welcome here, and in that sense. So
And by the way, the name is the originals.
yeah, shit. Yeah,
how
sorry.
about how about
Plug it. The originals.
how about you,
Absolutely.
Nacho? How have you been
My
invited?
experience with Finns is nothing but great. Stereotypes are there sometimes for a reason. You need to take them with cautious, of course. But it is a known fact that Finns are introverts, and it's hard to get connected with them. But put them naked in the sauna, and they will solve the world hunger with you, and they will solve world problems. So it's easy to connect with them. I've found myself with many close friends, like friends for lifetime that are Finns, and I feel blessed also with the people around here. Turku people in particular are more easygoing. There's a more, it has this cultural hub vibe going on. Being a student city also, that also brings a lot of movement to it, and being a food like a food capital. That is also very, very interesting. The geographical location that it has, the particularities of the archipelago, and so on, makes people a bit more laid back. Um, Many of the Finns have their vacational spots here, so there's a lot of inward tourism here. So yeah, it's a bit more laid back than other spots. I don't know, as Tampere, for instance, I've experienced a little bit Tampere, and there's more of a wall. You need two saunas
I think it's
to
a little
get
bit
to.
also in a way it feels more. Might be that I'm wrong, but I sense it's a little bit more like European
Mm,
town than Tampere, for
mm,
example, or not.
Well, I'm not sure. To be honest, when I go to Tampere, I go and get drunk, so I tend to
mm.
forget about everything else, and everything's just a big friendly family anyway. But it's got to a stage here with me. I almost don't sense the difference now between Finland or Welsh or Australian, or it's just locals. Like, I'm just, I'm almost there. I'm not quite a local yet, but I'm kind of feeling that there's no for me, there's no barrier in between cultures, or there's no barrier between kind of where you're from. I've got Finnish mates, I've got Australian mates, but when we're all together, like,
Absolutely.
there's no separation, or you're from
Mm.
here, you're from there. It's just
And
easy flowing.
and you guys are still here. That must mean
Absolutely.
something as well.
Absolutely.
I lost my
Absolutely.
passport. I'm
But
But
anyway,
in a way, I do
Mm.
feel that you can tell the differences within Finland when you've been for long enough time. I think it is possible to tell the difference. I got lucky enough upon arrival to the country, my ex at the time, she's a doctor, and she was working in different hospitals. So I got to travel around Finland, and yeah, you get to see different ways of. So there is nuances to, but the idiosyncrasy of the Finns is there, is noticeable. Like,
Mm.
yeah.
And also the history in it, the fact that it's an old Hansa
Mm.
city, the old capital. Uh, in a way, you can also sense the history, even though they have tear down a lot of the old buildings, unfortunately, during the 60s, 70s. But if this is a hypothetical question, if you could bring one thing from here, from Turku, to a place where you originate from, let's say in your case Wales,
Mhm.
and in your case Chile, what would be that particular thing be?
Long drink.
Lonkero. Okay, good answer.
Amongst many others. But
The It's an easy answer, but at the same time, it goes like you can deep like take a deep dive on it. But the sauna. I know you asked for something from Turku, so I'm
Mm.
thinking, is it Turun Sinappi what I'm gonna bring? But I think the sauna is something that I do feel that Finns have cracked life with it. There's no other space like that. There's no other place where people feel and do and be the way that they are in the sauna. In the beginning, as it was taking as the like pretty much a sacred place, but still there's an etiquette to it. There's a whole cultural appealing to it, and I think every country, every place should have sauna. I actually tried to bring one. Sahkoki was to my brother in Chile, so
Really?
he has a little sauna, but explaining the etiquette and the what is it behind it, and how the culture around the sauna turns. It's hard to convey. So
I was just saying, no,
yeah.
it's funny you just said that. My father visited 2 months ago. He got an Airbnb just behind one of the shops, and he went home 6 days later, ripped out his bath, and built a sauna in his house. I swear. He just says, the etiquette of having the sauna before sleep, the best sleeps he's had, and yeah, it's something that I've taken a while to get into, because I don't get the luxury of kind of having much time out of work. But that little summer 4-day getaway I just explained, and spent most of my time in there, and yeah, it does wonderful things for the soul.
Do you think sometimes you hear that we Finns, we might be a little bit, we don't brag about what we have. We are not that good of marketing what we have. And that's why things like this, Lonkero, Sana, okay, now they are trying to bring Lonkero everywhere. But like, that's the reason actually people from elsewhere doesn't have.
But I'm like a big factor of, like, living in Sydney. and it's very materialistic, and everything I hate about it. But what I do find when I come here, it's that everybody's such on neutral ground, and I love that. You wouldn't know if somebody has $1 million in the bank,
Yeah.
or if they're getting government support, and I like that because it's almost as if everyone is treated fairly and equal, and everyone acts as equals here, and that's one of the big things I do like here.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely. In the Nordics, the distance to power is something so short, so such a horizontal society that it's awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
The rest of the world absolutely should take note of that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you flip the question around, is there something you could like to bring from your own, from Australia, from Wales, from Chile, from to here?
I'd I'd like to see a bigger rugby culture. I know Turku and Finland does have a great rugby culture, but I believe there's certainly room to improve on that. I was gonna say kind of English breakfast, but I'll do a plug here. My restaurant does offer English breakfasts on the weekends, brunches, little Saturdays between 11 and 4. You can find a good English breakfast there.
A little commercial. We'll see. We'll see if we let that through after the edit. Nacho. I think it's producer. Okay.
Is he falling in the ice machine? Is he?
I was gonna say waves. The Baltics is a pool that sometimes a bit stresses
I'll
me.
take
That
that
you. But now that you mentioned, yeah, I would like to see a bigger football culture. Yeah, that's where I come from. It's not so much as in neighboring countries, but yeah, it's pretty high up there where people put their energy. So, yeah.
Guys, let's go back to Turku and really focus on the downtown part of it. If you would be the governor who had all the power of building and changing your city in your perspective and your vision, how would Turku look like in your dreams and the downtown of it in, let's say, 5 or 10 years? Not sure.
I would remodel Kauppatore. Downtown of Turku. That's a
well, the city center.
That's quite a concept. It's hard to project in 10 years because I've been 7 here and I've only seen certain developments. I've been traveling to Tampere and you see the constructions everywhere and big infrastructure projects. See tunnels and highways and the tram and so on. And what have we got here in the last 10 years? Funikulari, Logomo Bridge.
They've
which
done the road a few times.
Hey,
exactly.
Don't forget about the square market. Yeah.
Yeah, like I never knew it as a non-market square. So every time I've been, well, since the COVID and since I've been here, everything's been under construction. So it looks very nice now it's completed, and I like to see local entrepreneurs doing small business, and certainly during the summer the fruit produce and everything else. It is wonderful to see. I do like to think what I'd like to see implemented within the square. It's what I've seen in many kind of organic markets around my travels, and I'm not sure it's like in Chile, but like a bit more crafts. More. I know it's hard because obviously the weather permits. Like more sustainable, like fresh honey and more things like that. I think it's in somewhat ways there's a lot of stuff that's sold the same. If you've seen like I can't explain it, but like when they like the old bags and the old thing, and it's lovely, of course, but times are changing, so it's nice to see maybe even youngsters maybe doing some stalls, kind of, these secondhand stores, or seeing young guys kind of showing young people doing businesses on this and having the opportunity to do it on these spaces that are currently there. So I think the infrastructure we do have, we're blessed to have these new and lovely places, but I think they could be maximized in many other ways, and like I say, whether that start with young entrepreneurs kind of given an opportunity to showcase different products that what people are maybe not used to.
Do you mean, for example, some motivators to help out in the beginning?
Yeah, well,
or
so much of that, but like the motivations for sure, and like I say, we
access for room space.
Yeah, and just access for space at all. But I think we kind of brushed across that it's very hard for entrepreneurs anyway in general. It's a very big gamble, and it takes a certain type of person to be able to pull it off and do the work. And after what 5 years, you may get paid. So there's not enough insight for, I think, young people coming through to give them an idea of what it takes, or what lessons I've made, mistakes that I've had to endure, and kind of offer this, kind of maybe do talks to young guys coming through to kind of allow people an insight that it's worth it if you're willing to put the work in. You work hard, you get lucky. You know what I'm saying? But there's not enough people to encourage the youngsters. It's okay not to go to uni. Like, I'm not saying don't go, because why wouldn't you use the facilities and the amenities that are very, very handsomely given to you in this country? But I also think that there should also be somebody who is in the background of entrepreneurship to encourage youngsters to give it a go, because young entrepreneurs go on to become corporate companies, and they can't become corporate companies if there isn't a gateway for young guys to come through and give it a shot.
Mm. And in
So
the future, they are the ones who are gonna pay for
yeah,
a.
that's it, man. That's it. And what it does is, if you encourage young entrepreneurs with the country, you encourage finished product. You're not indicting corporate international businesses in to make the money off the. You're growing your own. And I think that's what I'd like to see more. If I was a governor, it would be more of an insight to try and encourage more youngsters to, give it a go, to try and make a homegrown finished product like Nokia, all these big brands that have come out of here. Why not start encouraging people to, be the next CEOs of these big companies? But they've got to start somewhere. So there's got to be somebody there to push them along the way.
Ziggy, a little bit more to the grassroots, but I see where you're coming. But then Turku, in
Well,
particular.
I've started the originals in Turku, and I believe I'm going to be big as Nokia.
So
So,
I do-
this is the idea.
I do see it in terms of change to the town, to the city.
Mm.
What was done in, I can't remember the street. It's not Mariankatu. The corner of between Kuka and
Is it Linnankatu?
no, between Kuka, the street where Aune is,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Lerukaupa, and
Can't
Ravintola
remember.
Koulu. So
Yeah.
that little street that they close it, and then you get there's no traffic. So encouraging for areas to develop the terraces and having that more laid back culture, which is the Finns love to look at the Mediterranean as an influence. I think if they would do more projects like that in the city, that would be nice. The banks of the river here are always attracting people, but in downtown, I think in certain areas they could keep it up as some terrace, and something that I would really like to see is the food culture being extended a bit later, because that's something that till this day I don't understand. How is it that the kitchens close so early and you can have alcohol but you cannot have any bite? That's
Instead
only,
of traditional pizzeria and kebab.
exactly.
Exactly. Yeah,
No,
I fully stand with that one. Absolutely. And again, it goes back to if you got given or access to these later licenses, it also encourages you new businesses.
You have quite a lot of entrepreneurship here, Ziggy. As we talked already about the barber shop, the whiskey lounge, and then you have another restaurant in Kävelykatu. But what would be your tips for somebody who wants to start from the ground zero here in Turku?
Just don't be too proud to make mistakes. You can't even capitalize on the word mistake. It's lessons learned. It's not being too proud to have a go. And if it doesn't work, try something else. You don't need to succeed the first time. You won't ever learn unless you make these lessons or make these mistakes. And I think, my only one kind of influence or, thing to say to people wanting to have a go is just have a go. You're not going to lose if it doesn't work. Go back to the drawing board, try something else. There's always something new to come up with. But you can say you only learn from your mistakes.
I'm not sure you have organized a lot of different kind of events in different size, and when I know that sometimes you haven't had a lot of things from the beginning, and then you have organized a lot of big things. What would be your tip to people who wants to thrive in the same kind of.
Absolutely. On the contrary, that Sig has been, you've dedicated yourself to that. I've tried to keep things in balance. I work in scientific research. I work in the studies that this country gave me, and I feel that I'm putting back as a retribution to the, especially the education system here. I work on that, but at the same time, putting back to the community and putting back to my friends, and that's where my other energies go to, and in that sense, I've been managing to organize certain events here and there, mostly through networking. That's something very important, and following your advice, I would say never be afraid of asking help, because having the right team is the key to having successful, in my case, events. But for many, that's the key to success in general, to having the right people by your side, and the rest of energies. I put it in my family. So finding balance is something really important, and not burn yourself with one thing, and don't put all the eggs in one basket.
All right. We are in a part of this podcast episode that I'm gonna ask you some quick questions. It's either way kind of a question, and you don't have to explain your answers anyway. But Zig,
Okay. Let's go.
lake or ocean?
Ocean.
How about you?
Ocean.
Turku during spring or autumn? Quick.
Spring for me.
I'm allergic, so let's put it in autumn.
A big metropolis or a small village?
For my direction, the metropole.
I've taken both, and I stick with the small one.
Aura cheese, so the blue cheese,
Love it.
or Turun sinappi, mustard? Ziggy.
Outer cheese.
Ahora just.
And let's go with one I'm gonna improvise. Let's say Linna Burgers or 450 pizza place.
Ooh. Fuck.
Pizza. 450.
They're my two favorite places. No comment.
Okay.
I love them both, man.
And we're actually now we're in the final part of the show. We're gonna taste some of local treats,
Look at that.
and our producer Janne has made us some has brought us some treats. And actually Janne, can you pour Ziggy's glass at the same
Thank
time?
you. The ice was amazing.
And we are gonna score it from 0 to 5, and in the end of the season we're gonna see which product is gonna be the winner.
All right.
One question though in the beginning. I hope you're not allergic to seafoods.
Only the ones in the jars.
I
knew it was coming. Oh no.
Off we
yes.
go.
Oh,
Thanks a lot.
okay.
That
was mine.
herring.
Oh shit.
And it's local style herring.
I've got to love it then.
Local style herring with some archipelago bread
Saaristolaisleipä, yeah.
on it.
Let's go.
Go for it.
And I've never seen this kind of before, but it's actually bought from Kauppahalli.
Gotta love Kauppahalli.
So there you go.
Shit. Thank you, sir. And can Nacho get... This was Nacho's. I think he's drinking the beer.
Thank you, Janne. Thanks for the producer.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna...
Where I'm from, there's a lot of coast.
Mm-hmm.
Thousands and thousands of kilometers of coast. We have a big seafood culture.
Mm-hmm.
In jars, in the pocket, everywhere we keep them. But
I must admit, I'm not a fan of seafood in a jar either.
And I don't
Nothing
like
like a
dill
good-
either.
nothing like a good herring.
Shit.
But it's super local.
So good.
Janne, was it right that this kind of food you haven't seen with strawberries?
No, it's
Actually, it's amazing.
sort of
So good.
like a summer vessel from Herkunlahta.
Mm.
And herring, you don't get any local
Mm.
I take that back. Don't tell my missus though. I pretended not to like this for years.
I will start. I will give a solid. I like the bread. The bread is the best. I will give it a solid 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5.
I'm fair. Yeah. How about you, Nacho?
Good.
Same place, the bread.
Yeah, it's like the whole unit in it,
Mm. No, it's delicious. It's delicious.
from 0 to 5.
I would get a 5.
5. Oh,
Absolutely.
that's really. Oh,
Absolutely.
okay.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I finished it. I'm surprised on myself. I eat with my eyes mostly, but that's a good 4 for me.
4.
Yeah.
So I think we we are in 4, like the average. Pretty good, actually. Pretty good score. Guys,
That's amazing.
we are in the very end part of the podcast. If you have something you want to add, you want to say, now is a perfect time. Or ask me. You can also ask me something.
When's your next haircut?
I will book it. I will book the next haircut. Really soon.
I would book a haircut.
Yeah, well, I got the same memo. I'm sure there's a joke here.
Yeah. How about you, Nacho? You have anything to add?
Not much. To all the listeners to enjoy their brief summer.
Yeah.
And I hope you understood my accent.
In my language.
Language and the accent. Hey,
thank you.
thanks for everyone for listening. The second episode of Seitsemän Kukkulan podcast, the podcast of 7 Hills. I will have to. I want to thank you for the town of Turku and Turku Center, which enables and makes possible to have this kind of a podcast, and also for Brave Teddy production company, and for Bar Ullakko for this amazing bar and this amazing building we are in it. So until next time.
Hey, thank you so much. Pleasure.
Thank you so much. Pleasure.
That was cruisy. When's next week?
Amen.